How do you build the perfect supercar? More horsepower? Better aerodynamics? More technology? Porsche believed the answer was something completely different. Instead of asking what they could add, they asked what they could refuse to remove. The result was the Porsche Carrera GT, a machine that ignored almost every trend shaping the automotive industry at the beginning of the 21st century. While competitors rushed toward paddle-shift gearboxes, electronic driving aids, and increasingly computerized performance, Porsche built a supercar with a naturally aspirated V10, a 6-speed manual transmission, rear-wheel drive, and almost no electronic interference between the driver and the road. Looking back today, it's difficult to believe a car like this was ever approved for production. Yet that's exactly what makes the Carrera GT so extraordinary. It wasn't designed to follow the future, it was designed to preserve everything enthusiasts loved about driving before technology changed it forever. Ironically, the story of the Carrera GT didn't begin as a road car at all. It began with racing. During the late 1990s, Porsche engineers developed an advanced naturally aspirated V10 engine intended for a new Le Mans prototype. The project promised to continue Porsche's legendary endurance racing success, but changing regulations and shifting priorities forced the company to cancel the program before the engine ever reached competition. For most manufacturers, that would have been the end of the story. The engine would have disappeared into storage, becoming nothing more than an interesting footnote in Porsche's engineering archives. But Porsche engineers refused to let years of development simply disappear. They believed the V10 deserved a second life. Instead of abandoning it, they began imagining something even more ambitious, a road-going supercar capable of delivering the raw emotion of a Le Mans prototype while remaining street-legal. Transforming that vision into reality required far more than simply installing a racing engine into an exotic body. Porsche developed a lightweight carbon fiber monocoque, one of the first production structures of its kind, reducing weight while dramatically increasing chassis rigidity. The V10 itself evolved into a 5.7-liter masterpiece producing 605 horsepower at over 8,000 revolutions per minute, delivering power with breathtaking smoothness rather than relying on turbochargers or forced induction. Every gear change passed through a beautifully engineered 6-speed manual transmission connected by one of the most precise shifters ever fitted to a production automobile. There were no paddle shifters, no automatic launch control, and no complicated software deciding how much performance the driver should receive. Everything depended on the person behind the steering wheel. Even the clutch reflected Porsche's obsession with engineering. The Carrera GT used an incredibly small ceramic clutch that reduced rotational mass and improved throttle response, but demanded genuine skill to operate smoothly. New owners often stalled the car during their first drive, something almost unimaginable in today's world of automated transmissions. Yet that's exactly what Porsche wanted. The company believed driving a supercar should remain a skill rather than becoming an effortless experience. Visually, the Carrera GT looked unlike anything else on the road. Every curve, every intake, and every aerodynamic surface existed for a reason. The removable carbon fiber roof panels transformed the car from coupe to roadster within minutes, while the exposed V10 beneath the rear deck reminded everyone that this wasn't simply another luxury automobile, it was a racing machine adapted for public roads. Personally, I think that's why the Carrera GT has become more admired with every passing year. It asks something modern supercars rarely ask anymore. It demands your full attention. It rewards precision instead of confidence, patience instead of aggression, and skill instead of technology. In an era where computers increasingly made performance accessible to everyone, Porsche chose the harder path. They built a machine that never stopped reminding its driver that true speed had to be earned. Owning a Porsche Carrera GT was never just about having one of the fastest cars in the world. It was about accepting a challenge. From the very first mile, the Carrera GT made one thing perfectly clear: it wasn't interested in making the driver feel like a hero. It demanded respect before it offered confidence. There were no advanced stability systems constantly correcting mistakes, no dual-clutch transmission delivering flawless gear changes, and no sophisticated electronics quietly masking poor driving habits. Every input mattered. Press the throttle too aggressively while exiting a corner, and the rear tires immediately reminded you that 605 horsepower was being sent to only 2 wheels. Release the lightweight ceramic clutch carelessly, and the engine responded with complete honesty. The Carrera GT didn't punish drivers because it was dangerous, it punished them because it refused to hide their mistakes. Personally, I think that's exactly why so many professional drivers fell in love with it. It wasn't designed to flatter the person behind the wheel. It was designed to teach them. And once you understood how to work with the car instead of fighting against it, the experience became unlike anything else on 4 wheels. Then there was the sound. Even today, more than 20 years after its introduction, countless enthusiasts still consider the Carrera GT's naturally aspirated V10 one of the greatest engines ever installed in a production automobile. As the tachometer climbed toward its 8,400 revolutions per minute redline, the engine transformed from a deep mechanical growl into a piercing Formula One-like scream that echoed through tunnels and mountain roads with breathtaking intensity. Unlike turbocharged engines that rely on boost to create excitement, the Carrera GT rewarded drivers for chasing every last revolution. It encouraged you to keep accelerating simply because listening to the engine became part of the experience itself. Looking back now, it's remarkable how many modern supercars have become objectively faster while simultaneously feeling less emotional. They produce more horsepower, accelerate more quickly, and achieve better lap times, yet very few create the same connection between driver and machine. Porsche didn't build the Carrera GT to dominate specification sheets. They built it to create memories. Of course, the Carrera GT wasn't a perfect car. The carbon ceramic clutch could feel intimidating in city traffic, ground clearance required constant attention, visibility wasn't ideal, and maintenance costs were substantial. Every service reflected the complexity of a hand-built carbon fiber supercar. Yet owners rarely complained about those compromises because they understood they weren't buying convenience, they were buying one of the purest driving experiences ever engineered. As the years passed, something extraordinary began to happen. The automotive industry moved rapidly toward turbocharging, hybrid systems, dual-clutch gearboxes, and increasingly sophisticated electronic assistance. Cars became undeniably faster, but many enthusiasts quietly noticed that something had been lost along the way. Manufacturers were optimizing performance, while the Carrera GT had optimized emotion. Values started climbing as collectors realized Porsche had unknowingly created something that could never truly be repeated. Production ended after only 1,270 examples, making every surviving Carrera GT increasingly significant. Today, pristine examples regularly sell for several times their original price, not simply because they're rare, but because they represent the end of an entire philosophy of engineering. Modern Porsche hypercars like the 918 Spider showcase astonishing technology and unbelievable performance, yet even Porsche itself has never attempted to recreate the exact formula of the Carrera GT. Perhaps that's because the company understands that some moments in automotive history can only happen once. The Carrera GT wasn't just another chapter in Porsche's story, it became the final masterpiece of an era when the driver remained the most important piece of technology inside the car. The Porsche Carrera GT wasn't simply the fastest Porsche of its generation, nor was it the most expensive. What made it truly extraordinary was something far more difficult to measure. It represented complete engineering freedom. It was created during a brief moment in automotive history when manufacturers still had the courage to build cars for passionate drivers instead of chasing algorithms, emissions targets, and digital perfection. Porsche didn't ask whether the Carrera GT would appeal to everyone. They asked whether it would deliver the most authentic driving experience they could possibly create. Looking back today, that decision feels almost impossible to imagine. A naturally aspirated V10 derived from a racing program, a 6-speed manual transmission, rear-wheel drive, a carbon fiber monocoque, almost no electronic interference, and a car that demanded genuine skill every single time you sat behind the wheel. Very few manufacturers would take that risk today, and perhaps that's exactly why the Carrera GT has become one of the most respected supercars ever built. Personally, I don't think people admire the Carrera GT simply because it's rare or incredibly valuable. They admire it because it reminds us of an era when the driver was expected to adapt to the machine, not the other way around. Every kilometer required concentration, every corner rewarded precision, and every perfectly executed gear change felt like an achievement rather than something accomplished by software. In a world where modern supercars have become astonishingly fast through computers, electric motors, and advanced driver assistance systems, the Carrera GT continues to stand apart by offering something technology can never replace: pure mechanical connection. That's why its value continues to rise, why collectors fight to own one, and why many of the world's greatest racing drivers still describe it as one of the finest drivers' cars ever created. Porsche has built faster cars. It has built more advanced cars. It has even built hybrid hypercars capable of unbelievable performance. But many enthusiasts still believe the Carrera GT represents the final moment when Porsche placed emotion above everything else. Some cars are remembered because they changed the automotive industry. Others are remembered because they defined an entire generation. The Porsche Carrera GT did something even rarer: it reminded the world why people fell in love with driving in the first place. If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more stories about the world's most legendary automobiles. Every subscription helps the channel continue creating documentaries like this one. And now I'd love to hear your opinion. If you could choose just one analog supercar for your dream garage, would it be the Porsche Carrera GT, the Ferrari F40, the Lamborghini Murcielago, or the Mercedes-Benz SLR McLaren? Let me know your choice and tell us why in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next documentary.